I'm in Australia. I'm in the same room as Tim. We're in Tim's office. I'm sitting opposite him at a table. It's always very unnerving to be in the same room as you while recording.
It is weird. You're in 3D in front of me.
I know. You could like touch my face and everything. Like my nose is almost touching you. No, it's not. It's not almost touching you. I do have a big nose though. But so it's lovely to be here. It's very hot. I'm not sleeping a lot. I'm a very sleep deprived. We just went to dinner tonight with a Patreon supporter. That's the service you get as Patreon supporters to the Unmade podcast. Personal dinner with a Patreon supporter.
With every one of them in Adelaide, one by one.
No.
It's going to be quite a busy week in Adelaide.
Make no promises. Look, we're going to do a pretty normal episode today, though. We're going to keep it, just because we're in the same place doesn't mean the podcast has to be any different. Mm. And that means we start with parish notices. Here in your parish, we are in your church doing parish notices. And there's just one thing I want to follow up from our previous episode, and that is our ongoing interest in ways to memorize the name of the 12 apostles.
Oh, yes.
Yes, which obviously you know all 12.
Well, yes.
Yes.
We haven't got time to cover them now.
No. So obviously this has come up in a couple of quizzes, and then we played an incredibly addictive and catchy song about the 12 apostles in our last episode.
Yes.
And then, which was stuck in my head for weeks. Like, it's been a real problem for me.
Yeah.
There was Peter, James, John, Andrew.
But we also threw down the challenge to people who may want to write their own 12 apostles song. And the challenge has been taken up.
Gosh. Yes, well.
We'll just deal with one of them now at the start of the show, and we'll play some more at the end of the show because we don't want to, front load the show with too many songs. You can have too many songs about the 12 apostles, it turns out.
I think
something I learned this week.
Have you chosen this one because you think it's the best one?
No, I would never say that on air.
Right.
But let me read you a message that came from Debbie, who just said, "Hi, Brady and Tim. How could I resist? As always, thanks for the fun." And Debbie sent in her composition about the 12 apostles, ways to remember their names. I would call it raw, unplugged.
All right, like most
unvarnished
sort of vocal recordings then, I think.
Vocal recording,
yes,
yeah.
Yes.
Not overproduced.
No.
No. Here's a little sample. I'll just play the start of it. Here's a little bit of it.
Bartholomew is first, so you don't forget. Judas is the one that the soldiers met.
So, there you go.
Good work.
Yeah.
Debbie does the disciples.
Debbie does the disciples. So, but I thought we can do better. Debbie doesn't know this yet. Debbie doesn't know I've done this. Mm-hmm. But I gave her recording to the maestro that is Alan Stewart, my musical collaborator of many years. I let him loose on it, and he put together a little something, and it goes like this.
Bartholomew is first, so you don't forget. Judas is the one that the soldiers met. Now double it up and make that James squared. Then Simon and Peter, and you're halfway there. There's Andrew and Matthew, and of course there's John. And Thomas, now he is the doubting one. Then Philip the rest with just one more dude. Thaddeus the one, also known as Jude. And if you wonder why you should learn this list, well, it'll get you 12 points on the bean dish quiz.
There we go.
That is more produced.
Yes, next level.
That is impressive. That's cool. You could put that on the radio. Well, you could certainly put it on a podcast. Or you could put it on this podcast. We have put it on this podcast.
Are there any radio stations that you know of that would play that?
No.
I'm sorry. Not like religious radio stations or anything?
There is a Life FM here in Adelaide, and they may play it to chat about it. I'm not saying they're going to put it in between two, advertisements or sponsored lines or anything like that.
Yeah.
But they may play it.
But we have had more sent in, and we will share them with you at the end of this episode.
No.
So that's just a little something just to make sure people don't listen to the end. No. Stay tuned to the end of the episode, and we will have more apostle-based music.
Are they similar, the others, or are they a bit different?
What's most likely to make people keep listening? What answer?
All right. Perhaps it's time for a change, something different a bit later. I heard one of them and I thought that was quite different, quite unique.
All right.
And
hang around, people. Hang around for the end and we will play them. But let's get on with the normal business of the Unmade podcast, which is ideas for a podcast.
Oh, indeed, yes.
Mm-hmm. Which one of us is going to go first with an idea?
Well, let me bounce off the Parish because you're here in my office. So this for me is the place where I record most often. And except I'm sitting in the different chair because I'm over here around the meeting table with you.
Yes.
Rather than at the throne, on my...
So in the corner, Tim has like his proper desk with a computer on it and his big chair, and it's okay. It's not the grandest desk. It loses a bit by having the computer of it with all the cables coming out the back. You're sort of showing the dirty side of the computer to people who come in, which is, an unfortunate side effect of the way computers work. But then, we have this round table out here in the main body of the office, presumably where you sit with your team and discuss plans and tactics and things like that.
It's a meeting table, that's right. Well, I love that you're describing the office because as well as being sort of, ground zero for Tim's side of the Unmade podcast recording.
I like how you make it sound like this is like the recording of the podcast is the main purpose of this office.
Well, that's right. Yes.
This is something you do occasionally in the middle of the night, like once or twice a month. Real work is done here.
It's also sublet as a church minister's office as well at the other times.
Right.
So it does get another purpose as well.
I notice it does have a church pew in it, like up against the wall there to my right. There's an actual church pew. What's that used for?
For putting junk on, like my bag and a couple of folders, as you can see, and some snacks and nice goodies that were piled up there for people when they got COVID and they were at home. We made up packs to take around to their house, like nice, yummy stuff. And they just ended up in my office for some reason.
But people could come in here and you could use that old cliche that I hate, but you could use it literally where you go, well, pull up a pew.
No, that's I haven't done that. No. It's literally in here because we had a few extra pews, and they're really nice, beautiful old 100-year-old wooden pews. But to my mind, pews look the best out of context. They look boring in church, but they look awesome next to a dining table at home.
Yeah.
So I think it looks kind of cool because it's a modern-ish kind of office. And so it's there and it had to go somewhere and this was a good place to store it.
But no one ever sits on it. It's just there for storage and an extra flat surface for you to work with.
Yes, it's basically a low shelf. My backpack sits right there and that's the most use that it gets.
Okay. And what happens around this table? Do you ever pray at this table?
No, I don't.
Really?
I know. It would be more religious to say yes, but no, I don't.
Okay.
No.
I have a fascination with prayer, so I was hoping I was in one of your prayer zones, but no, this is more administrative.
The whole world is a prayer zone, Brady.
This is true. This is true.
I look, we're talking about The Office. We're delving actually into my podcast idea, which is, I don't want to call it The Office because that's a bit overdone because of the two mega TV shows about The Office. I'm talking about a personal office though, which is a curious room. It's a place that's personalised, but personalised for work. And I was thinking about, that glorious time when you're a kid and you start to make your bedroom consciously your own bedroom with your own posters and your own stuff. And I reckon if you get an office or even it's a cubicle, your little workspace is kind of like your work bedroom. Especially as you grow up and if you partner up, then you end up not quite having your own bedroom anymore, or you might have a side of the room where you're allowed to have a few things, but sometimes it's not totally your own. And I hate that idea of a man cave. So I like the idea of an office as a place where you go, where you've got your stuff, you do work. It's a very enjoyable place to be. Not the big office with everyone, your little bit of it.
So your podcast idea is profiling people in their offices or people's offices?
Describing their office, talking about why they have their office. I think there's also a lot of history. How have we come to have offices the way we have them? Has it been shaped by societal trends in any way?
I love this idea. I like it a lot. I think maybe you take for granted what a luxury it is to have your own office the way you do, like a big office. Not many people have their own office. They work in open plan spaces or... Oh, yeah. But having a big grand office like you have here in the corner of the building is a rare thing, but not so rare that you can't make podcasts about it. I like it. I remember going, when I was young, going into my dad's work, and at one point he had an office that he shared with one other person at the newspaper. And I just thought it was the coolest thing, and it made me dream of having an office one day. Like, that was like a real fantasy of mine. I never really had one in my newspaper days. I worked in an open plan office, but I do remember having my own desk.
Oh, yeah.
And just having my own desk was awesome, and I personalised it. I was quite into, like, you know, little executive toys, like those sand things you flip upside down, or ink timers and that. I actually had a really big collection of them. Like, I ended up having, like, 10 or 15 of them, and other people in the office would love coming up to my desk and looking at what ones I'd added to my collection and stuff like that. So I had quite a few of those. But yeah, having my own space, you feel like you've kind of made it in the world. It's like your little stamp on the world. You're professionally. So I loved having my own desk. I love my office now at home. I have my own office in my house, and I love that, making it my own. And it's never as perfect as I want. I always dream of it being amazing, and I never quite reach.
What's it missing?
Well, I don't know. Like, in your head, you're like, it's going to have these works of art on the wall and these maps, and I'm going to have this lovely desk, and I'm always working towards it and accumulating new things, but I never get there. And it's getting to the point in life now where I think, well, if I, what's the point? Like, that's a bit morbid, isn't it? But yeah, let's have a look at your office. That's where we are. Let's not talk about my office. We're in your office. Let me have a look around. Let me see anything I want to ask you about. I'm particularly interested in your desk. Behind you have a framed poster that says New Order, True Faith, 1963. Is that some music thing?
Yeah. Well, there's a band, New Order. Yeah. So this is like the cover of one of their singles called True Faith, and it's made by, it's like a Seville, like a particular like graphic designer that made all their stuff, Peter Seville, and and this is an example of that. So it's like a piece of cool modern art as well as being a album cover. So,
what is? I'm not wearing my glasses. Is that like a leaf or a feather or something on it?
Yeah, it's like an autumn leaf.
An autumn leaf
suspended in a really modern blue stark background. Yeah.
We'll take a picture of Tim's desk afterwards if you want to have a look. And then to the right of where you sit on a blank wall, you have various things stuck on the wall. Most of them, there's like a calendar, obviously, like quite boring, and then there's a crucifix. What's that crucifix there? Is that any significance to that?
Well, I should say that this is my second office. So I also have an office at the college, which is kind of more mine because this one I share with my wife, who is also a minister. Okay. I'm sort of here for more hours, so it's more, I guess I use it more. But she also has put up some sort of, girly spiritual things around the place as well. A little wooden cross and, like a picture of a couple of nuns smoking, which is kind of funny, and some nice stuff as well. So there's a little bit of the, shared bedroom sort of territory grasping going on, just like there is here.
I noticed also a couple of pot plants on the desk. I'm assuming that's also more her touch than yours?
Yes. I've never really noticed that they're there before.
Right. For people who are confused, by the way, who don't know, most people listening obviously know Tim is a minister at a church, but he also is a senior important person at a college, at a religious college. He's the boss there, so that's why he has a second office.
Yeah, and in some ways that one's got like 1,000 books in it, so it kind of feels more bookish and academic, and it has like a Nick Cave, picture on the wall, right. And and a couple more personalised photos, whereas this one is quite simple and minimalist. Like I've just got a couple of dozen books that are more like used everyday kind of books, and there's a couple of nice sketches of the church that I found like in a back room and thought, oh, they're nice, like black and white sketches. I'll put them on the wall. They look pretty cool.
They're nice. Yep. It is a bit more corporate feeling. I would say the furniture's more corporate. The bookcases are quite generic. The pew gives it a little bit of character, but other than that, you would call it quite a modern looking space, modern chairs. Got a whiteboard there. Does that whiteboard there to my left ever get used?
Yes, it does. Yeah. I do lots of in the meeting, okay, let's plan this, or let me explain this to you. I also do a little bit of teaching with the team, like the younger members of the team. We've got like an intern as well. So I'm like, all right, let me explain this principle to you, and that kind of stuff goes on.
Is there anything in either of your offices, either here at the church or at the college, that you've always wanted to have in your office that you haven't got yet, like that you kind of is a bit of a dream, or
Oh, that's a good idea. I've never had a bar fridge. I don't think I need a bar fridge, but that's something that seems to be in
having a
TV
fridge in your
shows.
office. Having a fridge in your office, overrated. I got one as a gift thinking the same thing. Oh, I'd love to be able to just lean over and get a drink while I'm sitting at my desk. They just make noise and I got rid of mine. Overrated.
And it saves you taking 10 steps to the kitchen to get a drink anyway, which is often what you feel like going to do.
Yeah. I thought you might be someone who would like having one of those big bookcases with a ladder that you've got to climb up the ladder to get the books up high.
That'd be cool. And in our last home, I had one that was very, very high and you had to sort of climb up on chairs. I didn't have a ladder. That felt a bit pretentious. But I used to climb up. You sort of had to climb halfway up the bookcase to reach the top. That was pretty cool. But no, you have to be in an old building, and both of, this building is kind of the modern bit of an old building.
Yeah. It's like we're in like a sort of a modern annex built off the side of the more historic church building.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm disappointed by your office chair here. It looks like something Picard should be sitting at giving orders. I thought you'd be more of an old school red leather with little studs in it and stuff like that.
I would prefer that. I have to say, I get paid out quite a bit, mocked for my chair choice. I went down, I needed another chair. I leant back on the old chair that was here and it snapped off and I did like a backflip. And so I was like, all right, we need one. So I went to Officeworks and chose the comfiest and cheapest chair I could find. And this was the second cheapest and the comfiest, and I bought it. But it looks like, oh, that's a really special, expensive chair. Not a good-looking chair, but a modernish sort of chair, when it's actually just, it's the church's money, so I made it as cheap as I could and still keep my back up.
Right.
But it does, everyone thinks, oh, you've got that special chair. And I'm like, I seriously chose the cheapest-looking chair. But
so not only does it look crap, it's cheap.
Yes, indeed. But my purpose in buying something cheap was to save the church's money, not waste money. But I think everyone who sees it thinks I wasted money because it looks like, it's an unusual shape. So it looks like, oh, Tim's got this special chair, which is like, I may as well have just got a really comfy chair that looked old. That would have been better.
Another thing that's striking about this office is it has a huge window next to the desk that looks out onto a few parking spaces, but it also looks out onto the street and neighbouring houses. Do you find that soothing and good, distracting? Do you have the blinds shut most of the time? Do you always have it open?
No, I got rid of the blinds and I got rid of the curtains. I keep it wide open. I love it. People walk past and I wave and say hello and smile. You know that because when I'm recording, I'll often gesture to people who are leaving or someone who's walking past that I know. I like that a lot. I like the transparency kind of it as well.
And we know that Owen, the retired policeman who lives across the road, sometimes sees the lights on through this window at night and comes and says, "Hey,
yes.
hello."
Hello.
I wonder if he'll come over tonight.
Oh, that would be awesome if he did.
You never know.
Yeah, no, I like that. It feels like you're part of the community, with people walking around. That's a nice office. I have to say, I used to be more of a maximalist, like having lots of little things in the office. These days, I like it being decluttered. I know there's a bit of stuff around, but I like having not much paper, not much stuff. I would rather have it bare and simple. That's there's too many things going in life to have lots of clutter in your office.
So this office podcast idea, which I quite like. I'm really enjoying talking to you about offices now. Feels more like it would be a better video series than a podcast because the whole time you're listening, you're almost dying to see the stuff. And you can always have photos and things to associate a podcast. But I think a really good podcast idea is one that really lends itself to the audio. And I feel like this is one of those podcast ideas that is kind of torturing the listener a little bit. Like I'm sure people listening now are like, I want to see that window. I want to see that poster. I want to see those plants.
Yeah, fair enough. Another aspect of the idea that did occur to me was the idea of having an officer, that is someone who comes in and sort of helps you achieve the office that you want to have, your dream office. Like, have you put that desk over there and let's get this, kind of thing here. And it's like, oh, that's cool. That's helping me achieve my dream office.
The office doctor sort of.
Yeah. I like the officer, the space officer or something.
Yeah,
which is another idea. But that doesn't solve the problem that's probably highlighted. It's a really good idea for a TV show.
Well, there you go. I'll put some pictures for those things in Tim's Office number 2. Would you call this office number 2 then? Not and the other one's office number 1.
I don't think of them as 1 or 2. I spend at the moment I'm spending more time at the other one. So that's kind of the main office. And I do sort of thinking-y, book writing-y, ideaing sort of work over there. Whereas this one seems to be, it's more people. It's the people sort of office.
It's the people's office.
The people's office, that's right.
Yeah, with the window where people can see you at work and see the machinations of running a church.
Having said that, the idea of having like an open plan office like scares the heck out of me. Like, how does it, when you were this was at the newspaper, I know that, you think of a newspaper office, it's just all open, and yet doesn't it go crazy with the noise? You want to concentrate, but there's people talking.
No, I like it. I like the hustle and bustle. It's not so loud that you can't hear what you're doing. You're in your own little world. Like that's not a problem. I actually prefer it, seeing what's going on, and if something big's happening, there's a little bit of commotion and people are moving, and you know what's going on. And I like it. I prefer it. Like, if I could go back in time and have my own office in like a enclosed space, I wouldn't take that option. I loved being in the open plan.
When you're a journalist, is the actual writing of the story time actually quite a short amount of time? It's like you punch that out in 15 minutes. Yeah. The rest of the time is like in and out, comparing notes, grabbing stuff.
Yeah, lots of time on the phone, waiting for phone calls, going out, talking to people and that. Yeah, and then you would usually knock it out at the end of the day in half an hour. Yeah.
Right, yeah, okay. Well, that's probably the difference to academia, where you're actually needing to do the concentration writing a bit slowly over time, and there's not a lot of interpersonal stuff. Did you have a cubicle where the cubicle went up high, you had to stand up to see over it, or was it like a low desk thing?
I had a few different ones. There was a partition that was enough that you couldn't see the person directly next to you, probably. Maybe you see the top of their head from memory. But yeah, there were partitions, so you had a bit of privacy.
One more question about your office. I do remember you at the time mentioned you had because everyone drank coffee in the office except for you, and you had your own big tin of Milo. Is that true? Your own big massive stash tin?
It sounds true. I can't remember. It was so long ago. But I'm sure I would have had my own Milo. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. All right. Let us move on. I think it's only appropriate that we do a spoon of the week. Cue the jingle. Spoon of the week. Here I see in front of me the mother lode in the famous Tupperware box. Let's give it a jingle.
It's an arc, Brady.
An arc.
Yes, the arc of the spoons.
Tim's opening it up there.
The famous Tupperware. Oh, listen to that.
Lovely. There's a lot of spoons there.
I
bought a spoon today on my travels around Adelaide. So the idea was, because I went to this place today that I'll tell you about another time, and I was going to say, guess where I went today? And I brought the spoon, forgot the spoon. Left it back where I'm staying. So we can't do my spoon of the week. So we are going to go into the Hine family archive and pull a spoon. Should we do it randomly, eyes shut?
Well, that's right. You can do it. I was wondering if you wanted to rummage through and see what caught your eye. Because obviously I've taken the cream, like the stuff that I've wanted over, dozens of them so far.
How about I shut my eyes and you lean lean over. So Tim's holding the big Tupperware container in front of me. I'm leaning over. I'm digging my hand in, my eyes closed. I'm going to just take what I get. I'm going to take, no, not that one. I'm going to take this one. I've chosen a spoon. And now I'm looking at it for the first time. It is a spoon from Toowoomba.
Oh.
Where's Toowoomba? Is that
Queensland?
Is it Queensland?
Oh, is it Queensland or northern New South Wales?
I thought it was New South Wales.
I think I get it mixed up with Townsville. I think it is northern New South Wales.
Let's look where Toowoomba is. Luckily, have we got phone? Yeah, we've got some reception here. So the spoon is quite a regulation spoon. I would say unremarkable. Nice proportioned bowl. Slightly pointed end that you like and always talk about being able to pierce a creme brulee.
Yes.
You often use that analogy with your pointed bowl. Slightly ornate stem. Just the right amount of ornateness, I would say. And then it looks like it has an enamel crest on the handle, which I'm assuming is probably like the the town council or the town coat of arms. And I'm seeing here that Tim was right. Toowoomba is in Queensland. Toowoomba is a city in the Darling Downs region of southern Queensland. It's known for the Cobb & Co Museum. Cobb & Co was a company that made horse-drawn carriages. I'll pass the spoon over to you.
Let me have a look.
Tim's having a look. So obviously with so little preparation, you can't tell me where the spoon came from. Don't remember any family holidays to Toowoomba?
Certainly have never been to Toowoomba as a family while I've been alive. I mean, Dad did go on a trip in the 1980s. He went up to North Queensland, and so he may have gone through Toowoomba and got this on the way, although this looks old and weathered, actually. It doesn't look like it's been bought in the 1980s and then just sitting in this collection. It looks like it's actually been through, many world wars or through a lot of wiping and scraping and use, actually. It looks quite worn, doesn't it?
Possibly used to decant sugar. If you Google what's Toowoomba famous for, it says the Carnival of Flowers. The city experiences a district 4 seasons and is home to festivals including the Autumn Feast and the Carnival of Flowers. Toowoomba is also a centre for higher learning in the country, and its institutions include the University of Southern Queensland. I know Toowoomba well. I know the name. It's a big enough town for me to be very familiar with it, but I can't tell you much about it.
In terms of where does this spoon sort of sit amongst Toowoomba spoons that you've seen in your experience, Brady?
Best I've ever seen.
Is it?
Yeah.
Wow. And you pulled it randomly from the collection too.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes, it says it's nationally renowned for its Carnival of Flowers, held each year in September. Lots of parks and gardens, apparently.
There is a nice coat of arms. It's a bit like, if you're picturing in your mind, sort of the Hogwarts-esque kind of classic coat of arms, multicoloured, yellow, and is that like a bear on it? I can't even make out
My
what it is.
eyesight, I couldn't tell what was on it, so...
Gosh, well, there seems to be some sort of wizard and a bear and... a scroll. I may be making some of these up.
There we go, people. I'm sorry we don't know more about Toowoomba. Sounds like a pretty boring place, really. Hang on. List of notable people from Toowoomba. Hang on. Notable people from Toowoomba. It's quite a big Wikipedia page. Let me see if I recognise any of these names. Ian Leslie. He was a 60 Minutes journalist, wasn't he?
Oh, yes. I remember him. Yes.
Yeah.
Worked with Ray Martin.
Jeffrey Rush, the actor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. From the classic movie Shine and from the Pirates of, what are they called?
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tim Horan, the rugby player, I know him. Geraint Jones, an English cricketer, was born in Toowoomba. Played for England, though, against Australia. Greg Ritchie, the Australian cricketer, I know him. Do you remember him? Fat Cat was his nickname.
Yeah, he does look a bit like Fat Cat. If you know someone from Toowoomba, please write in.
Yeah, let us know. If you know anything interesting about Toowoomba, if you want to write a song about Toowoomba, a rap, I don't know, we're up for it.
It's a fun word to say, isn't it?
It's a fun word to say. It wasn't a particularly fun spoon to pull at random, but that's what happens when you let fate decide the destiny of your podcast. Speaking of spoons, we have an Unmade podcast souvenir spoon, and we give some of these away to Patreon supporters. We are going to give one away this week to Timmy in Poland. Timmy in Poland, who supports us on Patreon, we are sending you an Unmade podcast souvenir spoon.
Congratulations, Timmy. I have to say, as a Tim, I grew up with 3 names, Tim, Timothy, and Timmy. And Timmy is the one that sounds a bit, you've got to be pretty courageous to hold the name Timmy and go with it, because it was the one when someone's talking down to you, they're like, oh, little Timmy. And it's now affectionately said to me by a few family members. But this guy's actually leading with Timmy.
Yeah, well,
that's his name.
It takes a certain strength of character, I think, to stick with Timmy.
Indeed.
We also have Unmade podcast key rings made from English leather, coloured with the Australian nut hue. And we are sending one of these to Alice, who's based in London. Alice. Nothing to say about the name Alice?
No.
Do you know any Alices?
I do. I know a couple. Yep. They're, young people.
Yeah.
2 podcast-related names, Timmy and Alice Bluegown. There you go.
Oh, yes. Well, you're really going into Unmade podcast lore there.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to send some Spoon of the Week collector cards to 3 of our Patreon supporters. They are Nate from Illinois, Michael from the Northern Territory in Australia, and Lars in Germany. You will be sent some Spoon of the Week collector cards.
Nice.
Do you know any Larses?
Yes, the drummer in Metallica is Lars Ulrich.
Yeah, but you don't know that person.
I know of him.
No. All right.
He doesn't know me.
No.
No.
No, he doesn't know you. We could be.
He could be.
He could be a listener.
If you're the drummer in Metallica,
Yep.
write in.
Send us an email. All right. Speaking of Patreon supporters, if you support us on Patreon, not only are Tim and I eternally grateful, but you can now listen to our bonus show, The Request Room, which is an extra bit of podcast. Find out more about it on our Patreon page, how to listen to it and details like that. We will be recording a request room after we finish this recording. It's going to be very special, this request room, because we're going to go and record it in the main body of the church. We're going to go and record it up on the stage at the pulpit. So Patreon supporters, another way of us showing you thanks is you can listen to the request room.
See you there.
See you there, backstage, VIP.
That's right. Where we've got the really cool spoons.
There will be no spoons in the request room.
No, that's you were spared spoons. Oh dear.
All right. I've got a list, and I've got quite a few ideas I'm looking forward to talking about, but I want to do one this week that's more topical. That is, one of the actors, Matthew Perry from the TV show Friends, died recently.
Yes.
Very, very sad news.
Yes.
And as a result, we have all been hearing the song I'll Be There For You by the Rembrandts, which is the theme song for the TV show Friends all the time.
Yes.
How many times have we heard that song? Many, many times in our life. And it occurred to me, I knew the band that sang it, but I didn't know the name of the person or the people singing it, because I don't know the Rembrandts. I don't know the names of the members of that band. I'm assuming you don't.
No.
And it made me think, what is the voice I've heard the most in my life that I don't know the name of the person speaking or singing?
Oh, wow.
No one told you life was gonna be this way.
And that's where my idea for a podcast is. It's about getting to know the names and the people behind the voices that you hear a lot in your life, but you've never known who the person is.
Cool. Yes. Nice. The thing I think about, of course, there's advertising. You'll hear some voiceover is a lot in advertising.
That's what I thought. A lot of it is from advertising. A famous one was, who's that guy singing The Sofa Shop? We, of course, cracked that nut.
Oh, yes.
And went and met Carmen Scalzi. But for years, I didn't know the name of the voice of the guy singing The Sofa Shop. That's a prime example.
The sofa shop is your only stop for the sofa you need.
So the biggest one's gone.
Yeah.
But there may be others.
Yeah.
Yes. That's true. There are other voices. Famously, growing up, at Channel 9, one of the TV shows, voiceover guys, Pete Smith, would be the voiceover for lots of things, as well as advertising, but a game show and all that.
But he said his name. If you listen to Sale of the Century at the end, he would go, Pete Smith speaking.
That's true.
So you knew his name.
Yes. That was kind of his catch cry, which
This is a Grundy television production for the Nine Network. Peter Smith speaking.
Another one that will immediately springs to mind, particularly for British people, would be the voices that do, like on the tube and the trains, telling you the names of the stations and to please mind the gap.
Oh, yeah.
Some of those names sort of do infiltrate culture a little bit because people are so fascinated by who they might be. But I don't know the names of the people who do the train voices.
The next train to so-and-so will depart at, Yeah, that's true.
Stadium announcers, I guess, are voices you might hear a bit. Sport.
I wonder if there's some politicians, like particular voices. I remember when I first started watching the sort of Australian Parliament, I guess I knew who the person was because I could see his face, but I didn't know anything about the speaker who was forever announcing, the members on my right and, the member for Wills will sit down and, will restrain himself. The member for Mayo, come on now, and that sort of burned in my memory without really knowing the person's identity.
Yeah, I guess, but I don't think they call it that. I think that's more your ignorance as a youngster. Like the Speaker of the House of Parliament, and that is not an anonymous person.
No,
so
that's
they're not
true.
they're not deliberately anonymous. But like a voiceover person is.
Oh, I know who. I know, like cartoons you've grown up with, like
Yes.
Bugs Bunny and stuff.
Yes. Oh, that's Mel Blanc is incredible.
No,
but yeah.
Well, okay, Astro Boy. I watched Astro Boy the other day, and I'm like, oh, that's a voice. That, in fact, I think from memory, that's a female voice playing Astro Boy.
Yeah.
But I don't know who they are. But I listened to it over and over and over as a kid.
Okay. I did a bit of research into I'll Be There For You, the song by the Rembrandts.
Oh, yeah,
Because
yeah.
I wanted to know who sang it. The two singers of the Rembrandts, I have to say their name, don't I? Phil Solemn and Danny Wilde. I don't know which one of them is doing the heavy lifting with the singing. Sounds like both of them are singing.
Phil and Danny, yeah.
But anyway, I was doing a bit of reading about the song, and I thought you would find this interesting because when they made Friends, they wanted the theme song to be Shiny Happy People by R.E.M.
Yes, I know. I do know that.
You do know that?
Yeah.
Right.
They turned it down.
They did?
Yeah.
A good decision by R.E.M. or not? I mean, R.E.M. are rich. It's not like they need the money. Do you think it was a good decision by them?
It's unusual for R.E.M. They allow their music to be used in lots and lots of shows. It's generally seen in the R.E.M. canon as being a sort of a joke song, a bit of a mistake. A bit like Obla Dee Obla Da on the White Album by the Beatles, you know, bum 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 ba da ba da dum bum bum. But I love it as a song, and I think they made the right decision by not using it because
If a show becomes that popular, you lose the...
you lose control of it. It becomes about that show, and REM sit above that for me. But maybe I'm being a bit too precious. I don't know. For their mind, I guess they're just turning down a new sitcom. They don't know if it's going to be the second biggest show of the 90s or biggest show of the 90s, do they? So I wonder if they regret it, if they actually think, oh, that would have been a cool thing to do in retrospect.
Yeah. So what happened was, in the end, the producers of Friends decided to write their own song. So the people who made Friends actually wrote the song, and they needed a band to perform it. And they got the Rembrandts, because the Rembrandts were the band that was signed up with Warner Brothers that made Friends, and the Rembrandts didn't really want to do it either.
They didn't write the song themselves.
No, they kind of got forced into doing it, and they weren't that keen on doing it, but they kind of had to because of their enslavement to Warner Brothers. But it was just the first verse that was written because it was just made for the TV show. And then when the TV show became so big and the song became so popular, they wrote the extra verses that exist for that song when you hear the long version, and put in extra bits like a bridge and all that sort of stuff, and made a song that they have written and made the song the full long proper song. But it wasn't like a song in the Rembrandts canon that was chosen for Friends. It was made bespoke for it, and they were just like made to record it.
Well, they're lucky, I guess, that they so that's funny. They would get royalties from their version that went on the charts, but they probably get a minuscule, not even royalties for the actual Friends TV show. They may not still be making money out of that.
I don't know. Yeah,
that's interesting.
Yeah, it was written by David Crane and Marta Kaufman.
Oh yeah, Kaufman Crane. Yeah,
and someone called Michael Skloff and Ali Williams. So I presume they get most of the money from it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not privy to the contract.
No, indeed.
But
certainly we're not getting any money from it.
We're getting no, definitely, most definitely not. There we go. So that was my podcast idea.
I actually know that. I listened to that song a lot, not because, it was around, and of course I've watched Friends a bunch of times, but about 20 years ago or 25 years ago, I was doing I was doing all these seminars in different schools on values, about self-esteem and bullying and all sorts of stuff. Anti-bullying, I should say, not for bullying, like not encouraging bullying or training people how to bully. No, anti-bullying and all that sort of stuff for school. And I would sort of do, I was one of the speakers, but we had musicians as well. And they traditionally would do a cover of a song as well as one of their own songs to get the kids interested and get the message across. And one of the guys did that song, I'll Be There For You. So I heard that like 3 times a day, every day of the week for many, many months for a while there. Yeah, I was
okay,
done with that song even more, ad nauseum, even more than from television, I have to say.
I think some of the things we hear the most that are most ingrained to us, other than advertising, as you pointed out earlier, are theme songs from TV shows.
Yeah.
Like you think about like Growing Pains and Family Ties and, those shows that we loved as kids it used to be really big to have theme songs that were sung by people. And I don't know who the singers of those were, but I know the songs off by heart and the voices still resonate in my head, but I don't know who the people were who sung them.
Or the little bit from the production house that comes at the end. Like at the end of Family Ties when it's like, sit, Ubu, sit, good dog.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
Or at the end of the David Letterman show, worldwide pants, that kind of thing.
Yeah. All right. There you go. Do you like my podcast idea?
Well, I always thought you were leading up to telling me who the voice is you think that we've heard the most, but we don't know who they are. Is there?
I went with the tube. I'll go with the tube, the train announcers.
Okay, sure.
I'm going to go with that.
Yeah, I mean, they have to be someone apart from there and the other derivatives, such as at the airport, which is
Siri on your phone.
Oh,
Sat nav voices and things like that.
That's true too. Yeah, no, that's true. They're ubiquitous now.
Yeah.
But Siri, you can have different versions of Siri, but still. Oh, that's a good call. Actually, that's everywhere.
All right.
Oh, good call. Oh, very, very interesting.
All right.
And the dulcet tones of Brady Harron and Tim Hine.
Yeah, that's who we are, by the way. If you've been listening to the Unmade podcast for all this time, I'm Brady Harron.
Well, this is like the unmasking of Kiss. I'm Tim Hine.
There you go. Now you know the names behind the podcast.
What's your favourite theme song from a TV show? Like your favourite ever?
I'm going to go with Different Strokes. Now
Oh,
the world don't move to the beat of just one drum. What might be right for you may not be right for some. The man is gone. He's a man of peace. Then along come two. They got nothing but the genes.
We got
different strokes.
We got
different strokes.
We got
different strokes. Isn't it?
No.
It takes different strokes. I don't know. Anyway,
it takes different strokes.
Different strokes.
No,
Yeah.
we've got different strokes.
Do you know who wrote that? I'm gonna
say Cool and the Gang.
no. If I'm right about this, let me look this up. If I'm right about this, it's going to be I think I am right. It was co-written by Alan Thicke, who played the dad, Mr. Seaver, Jason Seaver, in Growing Pains.
No way.
Yes.
Wow.
Growing Pains, another of my favourite theme songs from my childhood.
Oh, wow. So he's right. So he's also a songwriter, and he just happened to
he's
write.
the father of Thicke, the modern singer that did that Blurred Lines song.
I don't know that song.
You probably would know it.
Okay,
I can't remember that guy's name. But anyway,
Mr. Seaver.
Mr.
Wow.
Seaver, Jason Seaver.
Nice.
Yeah.
Geez, well, now, if you listen, friends, if you don't know Growing Pains, this is where Leonardo DiCaprio did his best work.
Yeah, got his start on Growing Pains. Yeah.
Indeed. That's nice. I still have to go with 90210, I think. Dun-dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun-dun, shh.
Yeah. That's
But no, actually, well, that was a bit of a joke, just for nostalgic reasons. I like 21 Jump Street. That's a cool one.
Yeah, that was quite a cool theme song. Yeah, and that was extra special because you knew you were being allowed to stay up late. Like that was a sign that you're staying up a bit late to watch a TV show when that song started.
Can I say these days, of course, I think the theme songs, there's still, in some ways, opening theme songs to shows have become more elaborate, but of course you can skip them now on streaming. And you can skip that and the credits and you can skip recap. And I want to say, has anyone... When is skipping the recap going to move from opt-in to opt-out? Like, who wants to watch the recap?
Yeah.
Like, everyone watches episode on top of episode.
Yeah.
Everyone knows what happened last time.
Yeah. My wife gets really angry when I don't skip the recap. She's like, why are we not skipping the recap?
I know. I can't, It should be watch the recap. Like, we're going to skip it unless you tell us otherwise.
Yeah.
That's what it should be.
The best theme song used from modern TV show lately, I'm going to go True Detective. Red Right Hand was good too. That's Peaky Blinders, wasn't it? They used that then.
Oh, yeah, by the great Nick Cave.
Nick Cave doesn't strike me as someone that would have let his song be used as a theme song for a TV show, but...
No, there's a few. They slip in around the place. In fact, I think it's like the third Batman movie in the mid-90s had a Nick Cave song in it. And I've heard, the reason I know that is because he tells a story about how he was paid a stupid amount of money to write a song for Batman, and he felt he was betraying his muse, but he did it anyway. And then his muse left him for about 5 years after that. Like, he felt like it was like, I got the cash and then I couldn't write a decent song for years. And I just like, you sold out. He says, I wrote a rubbish song. And he goes, but I got a lot of money.
All right. Well, speaking of songs, let's get back to our apostles, Shall we round out the episode with some more Apostles music?
Absolutely.
Here we go, Janelle. A few decades ago, I memorised the Apostles at church camp, coming up with a little ditty to help. I took this vaguely remembered idea and worked it into the following. So Janelle sent this.
Simon, Peter, Andrew, James, and John, Philip, Bartholomew, Matthew.
Again, a little bit raw, a little bit unpolished.
I don't think you can blame people for that. I mean, I listen to demos from people like Kurt Cobain and good songwriters, and everyone's demos are a bit raw.
All right. Well, anyway, you know what I did? I called up Alan again. I said, Alan, help us out. Here's what he came up with.
Simon, Peter, Andrew, James, and John, Philip, Bartholomew, Matthew, Thomas, James, and Thaddeus, Simon and Judas Iscariot.
There we go. That gives it a certain energy.
Oh, yeah. That's nice. Quality.
Last but not least, this comes from Linus. Hi, Brady and Tim. I made a song about the Apostles. It's a nice challenge. Sadly, I forgot about Bartholomew, but then I made another song where I apologise. Of course, riffing on the "Don't Forget Bartholomew" line from that classic Jehovah's Witness version that we previously played. Take it away, Linus.
There's Peter, he's the rock and the leader, and Andrew is his brother's name. There's Matthew the publican, and another bunch were really good at fishing, like James, son of Zebedee, and John, son of Zebedee. There's little James, not son of Zebedee. And then there's Philip, he's just chillin', not really doing much, and also Judas. And Judas, one of whom betrayed him just a touch. And then there's Simon of Zealot and Thomas who went to India. Oh wait, I forgot all about Bartholomew. Oh, how could I forget about? He was maybe drowned, or crucified upside down, or skinned alive. That doesn't sound super nice, only to be forgot by me. I'm sorry, Bartholomew.
Bit longer, that one.
Yes. I have to say, the great thing about it is if the album succeeds, let's say you write a good song about the 12 apostles, it's a hit. You make an album, right, of them. That's a hit. The great thing is then you've got 12, then can do solo albums about each disciple.
Yeah.
How awesome is that? A whole album just on Peter.
Yeah. I can imagine a really good film about the 12 apostles. I'm sure millions have been made, like, you know, but like I'm talking like, you know, like Gladiator level of film, like that kind of blockbuster epic, like going hardcore, real big production. Like I think there's fertile ground there.
Jesus tends to steal the limelight in all these movies,
But
doesn't
that's
he?
why you do it, the 12 apostles now. And Jesus is almost like a peripheral figure. Maybe we don't even see him. Maybe the film starts after Jesus leaves and it's just the following these 12. What a great Netflix series. What happened next to these 12 guys who are suddenly left in the lurch? Their leader is gone. What happens next? And they go off and, you know, obviously some of them came to pretty grisly endings as well.
Oh, yeah, they were martyred.
So it's going to be great, gory, actiony. I think this needs to be done. This could be cool.
It's good. There are films that follow, though, Peter and Paul and other films that follow them through.
Yeah.
But they do tend to, often they're Christian production houses, so
Yeah,
perhaps they're not massive Hollywood budget like a Netflix.
I don't want a Christian agenda. I want it to be like really like
Following historical records and following in the grit. Fascinating. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I want it to be really gritty and actiony and oh yeah, that'd be cool. I mean, the Judas storyline wouldn't last very long.
No, that would be a shorter episode, that one.
But yeah, each week, 12-part, just a 12-part special mini series on Netflix. What happened next? Did any of them live long, happy lives?
They do. They go off in. I mean, a lot of them are martyred. Peter's, famously crucified upside down, and they head off to different places. Andrew's, ends up in Scotland, and all those. But so I don't know who lives the longest, but some of them live longer lives, and some of them are martyred quite quickly.
What is it? Who's the guy that made Gladiator? What's his name? Makes the Alien films, famous director.
Well, he's gone now, isn't he?
No, he's not.
Ridley Scott. Oh no, he's alive. Sorry, his brother Tony Scott died. Sadly.
Yeah. I want Ridley Scott. I want Ridley Scott to make it.
All right, you got him.
Yeah.
You got him. I'll arrange it. Yep.
He'd do it well.
I reckon you could coax him if you threw in a Toowoomba spoon.
Maybe. And each episode, the Apostle is played by like a real A-lister.
Yeah.
Like a Russell Crowe. Or who would you want to play Peter? Who would play Peter in the series? That's the part everyone wants.
Well, I guess that's right. He's the sort of the first among.
Is that Russell Crowe?
Oh, do you know who would be better? I went to say Jamie Lee Curtis. No.
No, I don't think she'd pull it off.
I've gone blank on his name. He's in There Will Be Blood and My Left Foot.
Oh, Daniel Day-Lewis.
Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yes. Yeah. No, I don't see him as Peter though. He's a bit too. I see Peter as a bit chunkier, a more muscular, stocky character.
Hugh Jackman. He's our Peter. Reliable, lovely.
Too handsome.
Too handsome?
Yeah.
Can you be too handsome?
Yeah, I can't get away from Russell Crowe yet.
Russell Crowe's good. He's getting a bit long in the tooth now. These were young men, remember?
Yeah, okay. But I don't know young actors.
No, I don't care about young actors.
Yeah.
There's Leonardo DiCaprio. He always looks a bit young.
He has to play. Who's going to be Judas?
Well,
Daniel Day-Lewis would do Judas because
Okay.
he'd get into all the angst and the guilt and the shame, and he'd get
Yeah, that's true. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Who's that? There's a few that are just a bit too good looking. So who's that one that's always just a bit too dreamy? He was in, is it Drive? And then he was in, what is it?
Oh, Ryan Gosling.
Yeah. He's just too,
he's not an apostle.
Nah.
No, you want a bit more. Like Clive Owen could do one, maybe.
Yeah. Although he strikes me.
Daniel Craig, maybe.
Daniel, that's right. Daniel, he's sort of a James Bond-esque kind of.
Yeah.
That's
I'm really enjoying this. Casting really good. I don't know who's going to be which apostle because I don't know them well enough.
George Clooney's getting a bit on now. He's a bit too relaxed.
I don't know.
Maybe he's a bit more of a Paul.
Yeah. Anyway, if you thank you for listening today, everyone. And a reminder, Tim and I are now off to the main body of the church to record our request room bonus material for Patreon supporters.
That's right. We're going to segue from our discussion on the disciples to actually go into a church to
discuss whatever else. All right.
Put the lid back on the spoon box. You can go away, boys.
There you go. Done and dusted.